I'll take it. I can do verbal. No, there's gotta be something.
Okay, not yet. I'm anticipating any day now.
Okay. Oh, I like it. I like it. Recording. You're just doing one recording. Okay, awesome. I'm just I'll give an example then because nobody ever wants to. So communication, I just have seen so many instances lately where we were able to get things done because of great communication between agents. And I would also say, Sean, what percentage of things that come across your phone or desk do you think could be solved if people communicated better?
Oh, you know what, I would say the majority of the time, it's a miscommunication or misinterpretation of what one party thought versus the other.
So communication, seek first to understand before you have an assumption in your mind of what something looks like or what you think someone's intention was. Seek first to understand what was actually going on. Now Kylie screwed up my clicker. Okay, please make sure that when you are making calls, do it in a TCPA friendly way. I know we are like shoving this down your throat. You're getting monthly emails about it. You're hearing about it in every single team meeting. It is because there are a lot of people out there that are just calling whoever they think, and they're going from the, I'm gonna ask forgiveness versus permission. That does not fly with TCPA. We are on a radar, people. So please make sure you're checking the TCPA before you're making calls. Welcome to KW, Bonnie, Brigham, Kurt, Javier, Jessica, Jordan, Shelly, Taven, and Cammie. Welcome to the KW family. We're excited to have you guys. Happy birthday to our little July babies up here. Look at all the birthdays. Happy birthday, guys. Really quick, Ignite tonight is make and receive offers and negotiate the deal. The 12th is get to the close and plan your future. This Friday is the NWAR Boat and Barbecue at Pineview. If you guys have not been to that, it's really fun. All the affiliates put together a great lunch. They have raffle prizes. They'll have boats, paddle boards, just fun things to do. And then team meeting on the 18th is our halfway hustle. So we're going to be doing a mid-year reset and going over with you what you should be looking at in order to make an assumption and make any adjustments necessary to the last half of the year to make sure that you crush your goals. So do not miss that one. It's on the 18th by yours truly. There's our guest speakers for this week on Ignite. This is our YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed, please do so. We're recording team meetings. We're recording Ignites. You can find everything there. Just give that little QR code and it will subscribe you. Allison Brown. Allison, what do you want to tell us about this class?
So it's a way that you guys can recruit agents here and build your profit share tree. And the first class is on Thursday, and it's a noon to 1 class. And then I'm doing a night class on Thursday, the 27th from 5:30 to 6:30. So if you go to our Facebook page, we have a Facebook page again, guys. So go like that right now. And then you can just share this post from that Facebook page. When they sign up, it asks me what agents they heard from, so that we'll give you credit for show up and we can get them to join our brokerage.
Love it. Team meeting on the 25th of July. That's the day after the holiday. It is still a work day, guys, believe it or not. The MLS is going to come with some cool updates. If you guys have not come to an MLS class recently, please take the time to come to this one. There are so many cool things that our MLS is doing that we are leading the country. We are by far the #1 MLS across the country, and we have way more updates than anyone else. So they're going to do an MLS update that is a CE class. And then on August 8th, the famous Marcus Green is going to be doing his quarterly market update. As you guys know, or maybe some of you don't know if you haven't been to this before, the quarterly market update always shares amazing statistics about what's happening in the industry, but beyond just the stats, right? Because anybody can look at stats, and some people geek out of them, and some people use them to go to sleep at night for the insomniacs in the room. But we give you actual, like, tangible takeaways to go, how do you go have this conversation now with your client, and what does that mean to your client? So do not miss that. Grab a friend. The meeting's always packed. If you haven't registered yet and you want to go to Mega Camp, get registered. It's always one of the best events, Sean's favorite event, I believe. It's a little less expensive than Family Reunion. So if you have not registered, get registered today. If you need some help saving for that, let us know. Time is running out. How fast was that? Okay, I'm gonna get the, turn the time over to Louie Hamner. If you guys don't know him, man, you are in for a treat because this guy is not only a business genius, but just one of the most genuine people you're ever gonna meet. So I love Louie. I'm excited for you to share difficult conversations. I'm on calls with you every week, so I know you are a pro at those conversations. So come over with me.
Roxy gives me a workout every week on Wednesday at 10:30. No, I'm excited to be here with you guys today, and we're passing around the roll. So just make sure you get your name down and license number so that we can get you credit for this class today. And so I want to just tell you real quick, here with Amicus title, I want to tell you really kind of how this class came to be. I went to lunch with a couple of brokers one day. This was few years ago. I was telling him about this amazing experience he just had. Anyway, I remember them saying, "That's impossible. That's crazy. Are you lying?" And Sue, one of my counterparts, she was there. She's like, "He's not lying. This actually happened." And I think it was Rick, who said, "How did you do that? How did you know how to do that?" He said, "Oh, Rick, I'm just a me. I know how to do stuff. You know, I don't even know that I know how to do it. I just do it." It's like laughing and stuff. Anyway, so then I came home that night, or it was like 2 nights later, I came home, sitting in my office, and I noticed in my bookshelf, there were the same book 3 times, were like together, same copies of the same book. And it said, "Crucial Conversations." And I pulled the book out. It said over 1 million copies sold. Second book, it said over 2 million copies sold. Pulled out the third book, it said over 3 million copies sold. And what I realized is that I had gone to this training 3 times on how to have difficult conversations. And because my friend is the master trainer for this organization, and every time they would update the class or have new content and something, he would say, "Hey, come do this class for 3 days." So I'd go and spend 8 hours a day for 3 days to do the class. And I realized that a lot of what I did in that moment was really just from this class. I thought, "Oh my God, I'm not amazing. Like I was just trained how to do this." You just remember, I just remember what you did in that moment. And so here's what happened. It was Monday morning, and I'm talking to Sue. We were talking about marketing. There was it's like probably 8:30 or something. Yeah, it was like 8:30 on a Monday morning. You know, in the real estate business, your emotions fluctuate so much. Like on Friday, you can have a deal close. You're like, "That's God, I never had a love this." And then Monday, something happens. Like, why am I doing this? And that Friday, you're like, "I love this business." Yeah. And then 2 weeks later, you're crying. Just out actually while you're crying, you're like, "I gotta get a different job." And this job, it's like up and down. The emotions that we experience are so, extreme, right? It's rare that we're kind of just sitting in the middle. Because if we're sitting in the middle, what do we feel like? We're not doing enough. So it's like, I'm either amazing, everything's awesome, nothing's bad, everything's bad, I'm not doing enough. And so it's kind of a hard place to be, right? Real estate. And so anyway, so I'm sitting there Monday morning, having this meeting with Sue, and our office manager walks in. She knocks on the door and comes in, and she says, "There's a guy on the phone from ABC lending, and it was a local lender that we did about 100 transactions or more a month with because of the loan officers and the agents that use one, or the loan officers that attend this business, and then our agents who use loan officers from that company. We close about 115 transactions a month with this company. Anyway, she said, and I'm using fake names, but she's like, "David's on the phone from ABC Lending. He's head of all of funding. He's pissed. He wants to talk to an owner, and he says he's never going to let." At the time we were called Vanguard Title. It's like that. And she said, and he said he's never going to let Vanguard Title fund another deal through his company. And he wants to talk to you right now. And this is one of those Monday mornings where you're like, "I hate this business." I was out of it. And I looked at Jamie and I was just, didn't even know what to say, because at first I thought hitting, but I could tell by her, you know, I worked with her 15 years. My career, she, you know, telling the truth, and I just said, tell Dave I'll call him back in 10 minutes. And she was, are you serious? I said, yeah, I need 10 minutes, I gotta finish this up as soon, I'm gonna take the call. Anyway, she leaves me with sticky, and just so you know, I took that sticky, and it's framed. I have that sticky that she wrote down, it's framed, it's my office, just because that was such a, just one of those life-changing events we have in this industry. And that's what I love about being in the real estate industry, is that you have these moments that you hate in the moment, but you look back on them. I get emotional saying so when I'm like, I feel like almost the tears telling me this, but like you look back on them a couple years later, and like, holy crap, that was so good. I had no idea that was gonna turn out that way. It was gonna pivot me. Sounds like you have to know. You've been in this business for more than a couple of years, 5 years or so. You've had a couple of those moments. And this was one of those moments where I just like, Jamie leaves and she puts the sticky on my desk. I'm like, thank you, I'll call in 10 minutes. And she's like, I hate that you make me tell her this. And she leaves and Jamie closes the door. And at that moment, what I want you to know is like, my heart was pounding. And I was trying to like downplay it, talking with Sue. She, you know, I was like, I don't want to, I'm losing my crap right now, but I'm just gonna be fine. Because what I want you to understand is that amount of business was about 1.5 million in revenue for us on an annual basis, which was probably about 20 to 30% of our business at a lot. And for him to say that it's gone tomorrow, in my head, because I've mentioned this before, I'm thinking, if this is true, and what he's saying is true, I don't think James lied. He said it. I'm thinking, who am I gonna like? What am I gonna do? How do we talk to our agents about this? When they ask us, because they love some loan officers that work there, how do I tell them this? Like, I just had all these questions in my head, and having all these questions in my head, like my heart started pounding. I could feel as I was sitting on my desk, like my hand was like kind of shaking a little bit, like I could feel I was getting excited. I kept just saying, like in my head, right now, you know, I'm just like, okay. And just to give you perspective, at this time, I had been in the business for, this was in 2015, so I've been in the business for 12 years, so over like, you know, stuff like this, but this was just a big moment. And so I was talking to Sue and I was trying to play it off cool, and I was just saying, okay, I bet there was something deep down in me where I thought, all I have to do is be calm. I can figure this out. There's nothing I haven't figured out for 12 years. Chances are I'm gonna be able to figure this out. But, anyway, so I'm sitting there talking to Sue. She says, I can't even keep on talking to you about all this stuff. She's like, you need to call David back. I go, I know, I got a minute. Just let's finish it. She's like, I know. And she's one of my best friends. And she's like, no, you really got to talk to him. I can't even think. And I'm like, okay, give me a minute. I'm gonna make the call. Stay here. I want you to listen to it. She goes, no, I'm not gonna stay here. I cannot listen to this. I don't know what to think right now. I can't be here. I'm way too nervous. And I don't want to make you more nervous and put more pressure on you. I can't, like, she's like, no, just take the call. I'm gonna go, let me know how it goes. And she leaves. And I'm telling you all these details because when you are in a difficult conversation, why I can remember all these details is because what happens is your body gets activated in fight or flight. What is in your brain, leads your brain to go to your extremities, why my hands are healing. So I can feel my heart start pounding more because I'm in fight or flight mode, and instinctively, because of millions of years, my body says, get the hell out of here. You don't want to be here, or we got to fight, or you got to do something, and I'm not doing anything. And I'm sitting there just going, and I can remember all these details. I can remember how the door rattled when it closed because I'm in fight or flight mode. And the reason why this happens is because physiologically, when we are under extreme stress, especially when we're under extreme stress, we're in fight or flight mode. And when we're in fight or flight mode, our brain records everything that's happening. You know why it's recording it? Because it says, hey, if we make it out of here, we gotta remember how to do this again. And so scientists have done a study where they've taken rats and they've stressed a rat through a maze. And the maze, and they stress the rat through a maze. And let's just say, here's the end of the maze and here's the piece of cheese. And they did it to 100 rats and they shocked them and they stressed them to find the cheese. And then all they did was they blocked it here, took the cheese, opened it here, and then put the cheese right here. And the rat, all 100 rats kept hitting this wall. And all the rat had to do was like this. Not one rat out of 100 pounds of cheese. You know why? Because what you learn under stress, you do under stress. Your body just records it. Again, do it again, do it again. And that's why you'll say things in fight or flight mode. You'll say things to your kids. Probably you haven't, but I have said things to my kids where I have, and I can't believe I said it. And then my kids are like, Dad, did you really mean that? I'm like, no, I didn't mean that. They're like, well, you did. You said it. But I didn't mean it. Right? I didn't mean it. And the reason why I didn't mean it is because I just responded how I had originally learned how to respond in that situation under stress. It had nothing to do with that. Had everything to do with how my body is recording. That's the more scenario, and I just really did it without even thinking. Oh, that's what our body does. That's how. So I want you to think about this. Your body records how it has responded, whether it is ineffective or effective. It has recorded it. And now you're in a business where it's high stakes, right? People are investing. 98% of America, this is the #1 investment they have is their home. You're helping them do it. Your body is recorded every time that you've gone into fight or flight mode and how you respond to it. And now you're in this business, which is extreme emotions. And now physiologically, your brain has the least amount of blood that it has in that moment. Your hands are shaking, your legs are shaking, your knees quaking. And now you need to walk your seller through a situation right now. And you have to cognitively walk through this without losing your emotions, without missing a beat, keeping the confidence, and making this whole deal go through. Hard as hell, right? And
They're used to me, Louie, it's fine.
far worse, that's fun. So it's just hard, it's just way hard, because you don't know what to do in those moments, because your body's telling you to act one way, and then you're thinking, oh my gosh, but this is the deal. I only have, I have 2 deals this month. If I lose this, how do I do it? And then here's what you do. I've seen this 1,000 times. Here's what you do. You negotiate your integrity in that moment. And you do something that is not how you would have normally done it. But you did it because you had so much on the line. And then you got out of that situation. Maybe you gave up some of your commission for something you did. Whatever. Now you're upset because here we are 20 minutes later. It takes your body 20 minutes to get out of fight or flight mode. But if you're in it, it takes you at least 20 minutes from the time that you're actually starting to de-escalate. It takes 20 minutes for your body to get back to normal where it was before. Makes sense? So I say take a minute, go take, breathe and walk around the building, whatever. It takes your body physiologically, it's 20 minutes. You can't say, why are you doing 5? 20 minutes. What it is. Makes sense? So it's like, anyway, so it takes your body 20 minutes to do that. So 20 minutes later, you're thinking about, or 30 minutes later, you're thinking about the transaction or the conversation. You're like, why in the hell did I do that? And now you feel all this regret about it, looking at what's really happening and the full consequence of what went on. Now you're upset at your seller or your buyer or whatever, right? You're upset at however that happened. Right, and now you just wanna like pull your hair out because you're kind of confused with what to do in this moment, right? Who are you mad at? What do you do? Does it sound familiar? Anybody? Anybody a real estate agent right here? How you feel, right? How you feel. So in that moment, Sue leaves, I remember all this. I'm sitting there, my heart is pounding, my hand's shaking, and I'm just thinking, what happened? What is going on? And so what I want you to understand is that a difficult or crucial conversation is any conversation that has high stakes. Any conversation that has high emotions. And I don't give a handout on this because you're going to throw it away. You're not going to look at it. You're not going to remember anything but the story anyway. If you really want to learn about it, you're not going to get it in an hour. You're going to get it by reading the book, by making a study of it. So high stakes, high emotions, and opposing opinions. So there's three things, and it doesn't have to be all three of those things. Any one of those things makes that conversation a difficult conversation because it's high stakes, high emotions, and it's opposing opinions. And if you have a seller, you have a listing, that's every conversation you have with them. Does that make sense? Like because it's always high stakes. You're dealing with an asset that is always high stakes. So what I want you to understand is you are always in a difficult conversation. It may not feel difficult in the moment. It may not feel crucial in that moment, but it absolutely is. You say one thing wrong, you say one word, or you forget one thing, and it flips it from everything's great to what the hell's happening? Why did I even how you use my age? You had no idea what was going on. You didn't communicate. Flips it like in a second, right? Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, because it is this, right? The other thing you need to understand is that there's safety. And safety is defined as mutual purpose and mutual respect. Safety is mutual purpose and mutual respect. Remember years ago, I'd always hear this term, like it doesn't feel like a safe environment. It wasn't a safe conversation. And I'm like, hey, what are you talking about? Gun to your head, there's no, wild animal in this room. What are you talking about? Safe. We're having a conversation. We're figuring this out. But what's safe is that where there's mutual respect for that person. So even like your kid, that you respect that they're a teenager and they have to go through certain things. They have to make certain mistakes to learn something. That's mutual respect. And if you think your kids, your teenagers aren't going to make mistakes to actually learn what they need to learn, and then you're mad at them when they make a mistake, there's no mutual respect there. It'd be like being mad at a toddler for not learning how to walk the first time, right? If you can imagine that, right? Takes the first step, falls down, like, what the hell are you doing? Get back up. You just did it. What are you doing? There's no respect for that, for the baby, for the toddler to learn how to walk, or any respect for the teenager to learn how to forget things, how to be irresponsible so that they can be responsible, right? It's how we learn to be responsible, by being irresponsible. That's the greatest teacher, right? It's the opposite of what it is. So mutual respect is appreciating that someone has to, that while you have done 100 of these transactions, or a lot of them anyway, that this person's only second time, even though they're 60 years old, they've only ever sold 2 houses in their life. And they have to be told everything as if they were 18 years old, doing it for the very first time. And if you see them, you're like, come on, man, 60 years old, what's the matter with you? How come you don't know this? Why do I got to sit down with you and explain everything? Like, if that's the dialogue in the back of your mind, there is not safety in that. There's not safety in that relationship. Does that make sense? And if you're wondering why your seller is being short with you, you're like, dude, I'm doing everything. What's the matter with them? It's because you're holding that thought about them and they're just giving it back to you. Because deep down, you're not respecting them. Does that make sense? And so we have to understand that in order for there to be safety and a connection, in a business, in this relationship, that you have to respect the fact that they might have to ask the same question 4 times, because it's like them hearing it for the first time. Right? That makes sense? So, and I will tell you that something that I've learned is that, and I'm saying this kind of in a cavalier way, but the number one reason why anybody chooses to live with you, the number one reason, no, they'll never say it. The number one reason is because you made them feel safe. Number one. Because I see it all the time where this super experienced agent, does that, 150 transactions a month, is going up against this agent that's only been in the business for a year and a half. And this agent takes the deal from them, and they're like, what the heck just happened? And then the experienced agent will say, well, that's probably a neighbor, cousin, something, just wasn't. Just the fact that they sat there and actually listened to them and was willing to answer the same question 5 times without holding this thought of like, are you an idiot? Or, how many times am I gonna say this? I told you already, write it down. You're holding that in your head. Does that make sense? And that's why they list with you, because there's a connection. It's not skill. And I'm kind of going a little bit off topic, but I just want to tell you something, is that, a hinge, like this door has a hinge, and this hinge is a lever, right? Archimedes, right? Archimedes, you guys all seen Indiana Jones, right? Archimedes, a incredible mathematician, says, give me a lever long enough and I can move the world. And so what was he saying? Like, he's not an idiot, right? But what he was saying is that levers magnify our power. When we have a lever, like, we can move, we become more powerful. It's not our power, it's now the lever's power that I'm able to use to move something I could not move with my own power. Makes sense? So kind of like this door. If this door weighed 300 pounds, a hinge is a class 2 lever. I can move this with my finger. I have a 300-pound door at home. I can move it like that with my finger and push it like that. But if it's off the hinge, I can't move it. I can't move it. It's 300 pounds, right? So what a lever does is it magnifies what we're able to do. And so if I just drew like a hinge, and I'm a terrible artist, but if I just drew this, let's say this is a hinge, right? There's skill and there's attributes. It's not a part, this is bonus. So, but attributes, skills and attributes make up a hinge. And I can have the most skillful agent walk into a listing appointment and totally lose it to an agent that knows nothing, but is compassionate, caring, empathetic, and they get the deal every time. Right? And vice versa. You can have someone so compassionate, so that's and caring, not have any skill, and because they can't even really communicate it, they don't get to do it all. But when you have skills and then you nurture these attributes, the attributes of being patient, kind, empathetic, caring, you nurture those attributes. Those attributes are just as, they're equally as important as any skill that you would ever learn as a real estate agent. Flat out. Because when you have both, then you are able to do things you would never be able to do. And why I'm sharing this is because the story I'm about to tell you is why this happened the way that it did. So Sue leaves, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, what the hell do I do? This is crazy. And when your mind, and when you're in fight or flight mode, your mind can't make sense of the whole story. In fact, when Jamie told me that David was on the phone, she's like, do you want me to tell you what happened? I said, no, do not. Just give me his name, give me what you got, I'll take it. Don't tell me the things that happened. And she's like, okay, like, that's weird. You may want to know. And do you know why I didn't want to know?
You'd be defensive.
I'd be defensive, that's right. I knew I'd be biased. I'd say, oh no, we did not do that. There's no way. We wouldn't have done that. It's impossible. And I knew that it would make me defensive and biased. But I knew for a fact I'm going to get a biased story from Jamie. she's not gonna tell me, she's not gonna just give me the facts. She's gonna give me the facts mixed with a little bit of emotion, a little bit of bias, and I'm gonna get, you know. So when she said that, I'm like, I don't wanna know what happened. I don't even wanna know. You gave me enough. So what I want you to know is like, if here's the story. Well, let's say this, if here are the facts. If these were all the facts, so let's say the circle, I don't have all of the facts. I just have this amount of the facts of what's happening. Does that make sense? This is blank. So I don't know. All I know is David. I know where he works. I know his job. I know why he's mad. I know what he's gonna do to me. I know I'm scared. These are facts. Make sense? So what happens is your mind can't sit with an open-ended story like this, because this is what we experience when we watch a movie. It's suspense. Suspense is like we're almost there to close it, like that. Tune in next week, right? Like, well, what happened? Then you're like, I bet he makes it. Because your mind can't sit there without closing the story. So what happens is your mind will close the story, and you're so in need of closing the story because your body is responding so much in fight or flight mode. It says, let's close the story no matter what we say. Even if it's a lie, let's close the story. Let's just make it up. And you'll close the story thinking it's a fact and it's a story. It's not even true. Right? We all have done this, where we think somebody's mad at us because the way they looked at us when they walked by. And then for 2 days, we're like, why are they mad? Then you finally get the courage or have this moment of a conversation with a person. You're like, why are you mad? I'm like, mad, I wasn't mad at you. Yeah, because you walked away yesterday and I saw you and you did this. I'm like, no, I'm just thinking. No, you, right? Because we told ourselves a story. So what happens is, I told myself a story because I thought, why would a guy say this? This is ridiculous. In 12 years of being in this business, no one has ever made a threat like he made that threat. That is ridiculous. Why would he do it? And I literally got out a legal pad of paper, flipped over, I had a clean sheet, and I'm just like, okay. And I wrote down, okay, what has happened? Jamie said this, he said this, and I just started writing down the facts. This is what she said. Then I wrote down why. And then immediately my mind just like got an answer. And I'm like, there was 50K that somebody lost, 50K. That somebody lost because we made it, we got docs late back, so it didn't fund on time, and somebody lost 50K, they're pissed at us for something we didn't even do. And they want us to pay the 50K, or they're not gonna send us any more business. And I'm in my head, like, I know this sounds crazy, I'm gonna admit this, but like in my head, that is what happened. And I thought, that's bullshit, I'm not paying nothing, $50,000. Talking to myself, believing that's what's happening. And because I put down 50K, I wrote it down. I'm like, I put down why, then I put down 50K. And I even put down this. They put down earnest money, 50K. They went hard, they lost it because the deal didn't fund. The money's bullshit. Not doing that. That makes sense. And if anybody would have walked in my office and said, what's going on? I'm like, oh yeah, this guy, David, he called. He said, he's not gonna send us any money because of this. We got the docs back. Because we got the docs late at like 10 o'clock at night. We did the closing, and I'm making stuff up. It's not even true. But your mind has to do it. I'm not crazy. I mean, I can't be crazy, but we're all crazy. I'm just enough to admit it. And you're not, maybe. But I just made that up in my head, and I thought that's what's happening. Right now, I'm supposed to get on the phone with David, ask him the questions, be reasonable, polite, kind, empathetic. You get to the answer. And I don't even know what's really happening. But we all do this. And right now, every one of you in this room, you are in a crucial conversation, and you're stuck in a story with somebody in your life. We all are. Where we believe we know everything that's happened. This is why we don't talk to this person. This is why we don't go visit them. This is why we don't talk to them anymore, even though they were our best friend at one point. And we all do this because you have literally made up stuff. Farm word. You've made up farm words, like you've made up stuff that is not even real about that person, and it's hurting your relationship. And that's just the facts. And when you're in this business, it's so important that you are able to distinguish between fact and story. Fact or fiction. and just say, what actually happened? Right? Because a lot of our story is about the intention of the person. And we can't guess the intention of the person unless we flat out ask them. Did you intend to happen with this or whatever, right? So I'm sitting here in this moment, and the first skill I want to teach you, it's called start with heart. And that's skill number one. And start with heart means that when you're stuck in a story like this and you don't know how to move forward, and you're thinking about it and you're scared, and you know you're stuck because when I say, hey, why don't you go talk to the person right now? You're like, "No, I'm not gonna call. Well, they're home right now. You're like, you back away. You're like, I'm not calling. No, give me back my phone. I'm not gonna call. You can call back and you're like, home on my own time. Leave me alone. Right? That's what we do. You're all stuck in a story. And what we really have to connect to in that moment is take a couple deep breaths, gather our senses back for a minute, and then ask ourselves a question. Because when we ask ourselves a question, we re-engage the frontal lobe of our brain, we disengage the fight or flight mode, and we actually start coming out of it just by asking questions that causes us to actually think, to think about something as opposed to something we can immediately answer. Like if I say 2 + 2, 4, you're like, that's not a real question. Question is, and here's the question. And the question is something to this effect. What do I really want out of this situation or this relationship? You can say that, or situation. What do I really want? What do I ultimately want out of this? What am I afraid of experiencing in this situation? And why am I afraid of experiencing? If that's what really happened, why can't I just face the music? Like, what do I ultimately want? And I sat there for a minute. And I really thought, because this was like a crazy moment in my life. And I sat there for a minute and I just thought, what do I really want? And I want you to know, like, I literally thought there was a $50,000 problem in my head. Sure. I get emotional thinking about this because I can think really, because I just remember it so vividly, but I was just sitting there. I thought, what do I really, really want? And I wrote this. I just want to do the right thing, no matter what. And what that meant for me is, if I am right, and they want me to be wrong, I'm not going to be wrong. I'm going to be right. And if I am wrong, I'm going to be wrong. I'm not going to try to be right. I just want to do what is absolutely right. And then the next thing that popped in my head was this question: are you willing to pay $50,000 if you're wrong? I'm like, and I just thought, I looked at that. I literally looked at the 50,000 for a minute. I thought, okay, if I'm absolutely wrong and they can show me, and I'm absolutely wrong, I'll pay the $50,000. I won't tell my partners. I'll just pay it, and then they'll be mad, but I'll just pay it because I just want to do what's right up there. Because I don't want to try to get out of it. I don't want to try to make this figure out. I just want to do what's right. All I want to do. And I'm like, in the end, if I tell Jeff or Sue that I did that, they'll see that I just did it because it was the right thing. I'll do it and then I'll ask for forgiveness. Like, that's what I'll do. I don't want to worry about it. I'm like, I just want to have it done. And like in that moment when I settled myself just to do whatever was right, I knew at that moment, like I was ready to make the phone call. Does that make sense? Because I could feel my heart rate going boom, 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 boom. I'm like, I'm okay. I just want to do whatever you want. I don't care. I don't care if I'm wrong. I don't care what he says to me. Doesn't really matter. I'm just ready. Does that make sense? And when you're gonna do what's right, it feels so good that the scariness of doing it, when you're really committed, the scariness feels like excitement. When you're really committed to doing what's right. And you're so committed no matter what. Feeling scared feels like you're excited. You're like, yeah, I'm ready to do it. See what happens. All right, like then, so, and I go to make the call, when I go to make the call, like. I pick up the phone, go down the number and my hand was shaking. Couldn't even hit the 8, start off at the 801, I was like. I had to shake my hand out, like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared, I'm like, what's happening? I looked at the clock, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been 10 minutes. I gotta call this guy, and I take my hand up, and I dial the number, and he picks up the phone. And he picks up the phone, he says, this is David. I said, hey, David, Louie Vanguard title, how are you? He goes, not good. I'm like, oh shit, come on, I'm gonna do what's right, what's the matter with you? Right in my head, that's just like, you're kidding me. And because I'm in fight or flight mode, I literally hear him inhale. Just like slow motion, I can hear him go. I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna just like, and I'm scared. And then I'm like, I can feel myself revving back up. I'm like, don't say anything crazy, because I might go crazy too. I'm like, let's not get crazy on this, but he says that, he's like, but I hear him, he goes, not good. He inhales, and I said, hey, David, before you say anything, I'm gonna tell you a couple things so that we can navigate this conversation correctly. And he goes, okay. I thought, oh my gosh, I know what I'm gonna say. I thought that for a second, I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, first, I want you to know, and I just thought, what's the truth? What's right? I said, first, I want you to know, I don't even know anything that's going on. You talk to Jamie, she's the funder in our office. When she came in here and told me that you were concerned, I didn't want to say pissed or upset, I'm like concerned. A little bit concerned about a situation, so when you were concerned, I told her to not tell me anything because I knew that I was gonna just get a biased story from her. And I didn't want to waste my time. I wanted to get to you as soon as I could. I thought, oh my gosh, that sounded really good. Like, literally, I'm in fight or flight mode. He's just sitting there. I'm just going, oh my gosh. You kind of feel like Superman or Spider-Man in the moment, like everything else is in slow motion. Like you're moving so fast, everything else seems in slow motion. And I literally thought that was so good. And I put number 1. What's number 2? And I'm like, oh, I have cleared my schedule. Because I did look at my phone, I had nothing that I couldn't cancel. I said, I have cleared my schedule for the rest of the day so I can work on whatever this is. Again, I just want to remind you, I have no idea what's happening because I didn't ask Jamie what it was. He goes, okay. I'm like, oh my gosh, 2 for 2. Like, what else is happening? And I said, oh, so then I just wrote 3 and I'm like, 3. I want you to know that if I ask you, as you're telling me what happened, if I ask you to pause so I can ask a question, I want you to know that I'm not doing that to defend anything because I have nothing to defend. But I'm like, because again, I did not ask Jamie. I'm like, this was brilliant. I didn't ask her. I'm just thinking this. I'm like, this is so good. I'm like, because I did not ask Jamie anything about this deal. So I couldn't even defend it if I wanted to. He goes, okay. I'm like, 4. I'm like, what is 4? And then I said, and I might ask you to pause. And I might not even have a question because I'm taking notes. Because I want to write down everything that you're saying, because I don't want to miss one thing. Because I want to get this right, because I've cleared my schedule for the rest of the day, and I want to get everything right the first time and get you taken care of as fast as I possibly can. And I'm like, this is going really well, because he just goes, okay. I'm like, oh my gosh, what would I do next? And then I said, oh, lastly, I'm just thinking through this, like, lastly, what would I, and I'm honestly asking myself these questions, like, what would I do with this information? I thought, oh, I know what I would do with this information. I said, and the other reason why I'm taking such detailed notes is not only to solve your problem, but to understand how this problem happened so that it never happens again, because I can't imagine that you would have to have this type of conversation on the daily basis. So I want to make sure that for my company, I totally eradicate it now. And I thought, that's it. And I said, so there you have it. I have my pen in my hand. I have my pad of paper in front of me, and I just flipped to a new page. So I'm ready for you. I'm listening. Yeah. And I said all those things, and that is how I said it. I thought it was just as it was coming out. And when I said, I'm listening, go, he did not say a word for 7 seconds. Not exaggerating. I just want you to hear how long 7 seconds is. What? I thought he hung up. Because I was just like, I'm ready to go. That's the- But I looked at the phone, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's still taking the time. And I was like, what is happening? Go. I was just like, what do I say go again? I just said, hey, David, are you there? And he goes, yeah. And then what he said next, like, I totally misunderstood him, but he said this. I cannot believe this. In 18 years of being in this business, I have never been treated like this in 18 years being in this real estate industry. And I thought, what the hell? I thought it was what? I thought I did it. I thought I did good. And I thought, I'm not gonna say anything. Because I almost said, what the hell are you talking about? That was awesome. Like, I was scared as hell when I said it. It was, I was just like, I just didn't say anything. I just listened. And he goes, probably like another 5 seconds. And I literally, I'm not exaggerating at all. I sat there and he goes, Louie, I am so sorry that I've wasted your time this morning. I'm actually pretty good. I'm gonna let you go. I'm like, this is impossible. Like, that's why I'm telling you the story. And I was saying it to these brokers. I'm like, I'm not making this up. Well, this literally happened. And he goes, nah, I'm gonna let you go. I can see that interrupted your morning. And I said, yeah, you have. Jacket, just kidding. So I go, hey, David, before you go, can you do me a favor? He goes, yeah. I said, I'm gonna walk out of my office and I don't know if Jamie's actually gonna believe me that you didn't say anything. I said, then she's gonna ask me all these questions. I said, can you at least tell me what happened? So I know. And he goes, yeah, I'll tell you what I think happened. My funder who works for me, I've worked for her for 13 years, and she can be a total D. And I bet you that she said something to your escrow officer that did this, and I did this, and all stuff. He goes, and I bet you it's her fault. He goes, so that's why I can see that this is really our problem. Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there. I want to ask you this. That conversation was literally 2 minutes at the most. I mean, at the most. I thought I said that because I'm giving you the dialogue behind it. It took 5 minutes to say it. I just said it like that, right? So what did David believe for the phone call? Okay. We messed up. What else did he believe? Probably still true, but anyway. That's what he thought. What else? What else did he believe would happen?
But there was a lot of stories and there was a lot of escalation and there was a lot of time for him to build up for a fight that actually never took place. Because the way you approach it, you basically disarm him without any confrontation. You open up and I'm like, I'm listening to you. What is the problem? And
Yeah.
what can I do for you? So he was not expecting that.
100%. So let me ask you this. I'll ask the question differently. What did David believe about me? Right before he made the call, what did he believe I was?
That
going
you
to
were
do?
biased, that you were gonna back up your employee 100% without knowing his side of the story, that you already had a bunch of stories around what happened. And that you were not gonna take any responsibility.
They're truly like that. We often believe this about it. Do we not? Like we believe this all the time.
You know, Louis, if I'm David and I know that my company is giving you $1.5 million or whatever annually, and we're sitting there fighting over 50K, I think that you're probably going to cave pretty easily and just cover that. I mean, that's like maybe 6 or 7% of what you make annually off of my deals. You know, so he might have been thinking this will be easy. I'll call these guys and they'll just write the check. Because who's gonna walk away from $1.5 million annually?
Right.
Over 50 grand.
Right. if that 50,000 was true, but just so you know, that was not even, that, not, but yeah, true. If that was the case. So I just want you to understand, what did it take for David? What did it take for David to change his mind? What did David have to experience to change his mind?
Clear communication.
Okay, clear.
Care about the
Mhm.
situation and we're wanting to make the right thing happen, like you wanted to do the right thing.
Literally, I just want you to know this. I want you to see this. That was my intention. I was gonna do the right thing no matter what. Do you think he believed that when I got it on? Right. So point number one. This is not in the book, but point number one. When your intention is clear, people feel it. And if you're in fight or flight mode, is your intention clear? Yeah, I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm gonna argue, I'm gonna punch you before I get out of here, or I'm gonna yell at you, say some swear words before I get out of here. So when your intention is clear. And your intention is coming from your heart. And it's absolutely clear. Right, what do we know? We know that communication is 55% body language. 38% tone. 7% words. So all David needed to hear really is the words. That's why, like, I literally did not write down what I was gonna say, I just got on the phone, I'm like, I'm just gonna say whatever comes out of my heart, because I know that whatever comes out and however I'm gonna communicate this, that's what he's gonna feel. And what he feels is gonna be more important than what he hears. The words I use, right? And because he's gonna make a decision based upon how he feels, not what he hears. Right? But you can argue that what he hears, but what I'm talking about is just the minutia, right? We get caught up in analysis, paralysis by analysis. We're like, what am I gonna say? Is it gonna sound good? Is it gonna be good? Just be clear. And start with your heart and just say what you're feeling. And when you start with, and your intention is clear, and you're like, I don't even know how to say this right now, but what I do want you to know is that I am willing, and you just talk from your heart. People are like, oh, I didn't know I was gonna be talking to someone like this. Let me back up a minute, reconsider how I was approaching this. Let's reapproach it. It's rare that you talk like that, somebody's gonna be like, we keep on pounding you in the face because of that. That makes sense?
And there was authenticity and there was transparency on your part.
Yeah,
And it could have, and it was without any regards for the outcome. Because you already had in mind that you were gonna do the right thing no matter what.
Yeah.
So he could have pushed, like he said, the issue a little bit further and gotten away with 50K. But he also, what you got from him was the same response of authenticity and transparency. This is not about the 50K. This is not about even being right. This is about finding out what happened. And I think I know what happened. Sorry, I wasted your time. So he owned it. He was vulnerable enough to say,
that's right.
sorry, I wasted your time. But it could have gone a different way, right?
100%.
But the fact that you didn't fight and you didn't approach it defensively, I think, opened up that new opportunity for him to have that communication.
That's right. And as a real estate agent, that's hard to do when you know that this deal is, maybe in this month, it's 50% of what you're going to take home for the month, right? Like, that's hard to say, I'm going to do what's right no matter what. That I'm going to not make my house payment. You're like, I'm not going to do that. Like, really? So it becomes conflicting, right? It can be hard. It can be harder in this moment, like just like this moment was super hard for me because I'm thinking, literally, I thought, who am I gonna lay off? How am I gonna tell these people? What if I, like, all this noise makes sense.
I think anytime there's the opposing opinions too, and the emotions are high, most people walk into the conversation prepared for a fight. Right, he walked into that phone call, he sat there and worked himself up because he's trying to close the circle too. So for the 10 minutes it took you to call him, he was working himself up to a fight because he's coming in expecting you to come in with a defensive position. So I think a lot of times you walk into the conversation instead of walking in with heart and helping me do the right thing. We see it all the time. right? The brokerage level, no matter what, we see people walking in ready for a fight because there's an opposing opinion. And instead of walking in ready to have a conversation to figure out what's truly the right thing to do, they walk in ready to defend a position.
Yeah,
I'd also say, kind of piggybacking off of that, just as you gave yourself the 10 minutes, I think it may have benefited to give him the 10 minutes.
yeah.
Because
Good
he
point.
may have been preparing for the fight, or he may have been realizing, hey, this lady I work with, bitch, maybe.
B word.
He said a B word. farm
Let's
word.
not bring that.
So he may have realized, hey, she's a B word. It could be her fault.
Yeah.
And so when you came into the conversation as a professional, he might have gone, hey, I need to look at this again, could have been our fault.
True.
So I think the 10 minutes you gave yourself could have given him a benefit as well.
True. It's 12:30 right now. I know it's cost us an hour. We need to start still doing
We started
it. So, but if you have to go, you can go. I just want to tell you, so I love what you said because, true story. He said, because she can be a B sometimes. And I said, okay. And I said, hey, David, and I thought, okay, then I thought, how do I win this guy over? Like, how do I really okay, I want him, but how do I? If I could go over the top with him, how do I do it? I said, hey, David, let me ask you a question. Is she really that bad to work with? He goes, oh my gosh, you have no idea. I've worked with her for 13 years. And she can, and he kind of said, he goes, she's great. His problem is she's amazing, but she can also pick a fight like nobody else, like nobody's business or something like that. And I said, hey, let me ask you a question. What if I called her and asked her what happened? Her perspective, and said that you were concerned about her and make sure that she got everything that she needed. And then I called her on your behalf. Quote, why would you do that? She is a total bitch. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't. And I just said, well, I would do that. Do that. Put myself in these situations. And had to know that put myself I create situations that I have to fight myself out of, but sometimes they end up being really good. In this case, it was really good. I said, well, I'll call it. I'll do it for you. He's like, oh my gosh, here's the number. 801-758, whatever it was, wrote it down. So I called her. And before I called her, I wrote down everything I said to him. I'm like, one, I've cleared my schedule for the 2. What did I say next? I'm like, oh, I didn't know anything that was happening. I didn't ask you. I cleared my schedule. And I kind of wrote it all down. I thought, okay, I'm gonna call her. I'm just gonna read down. I know what I said. I called her. Literally the exact same story happened with her. And I said, I'm listening. Cheryl, go. Didn't say a word. I'm like, here we go. I watched the phone click. Like, Cheryl, you there? She goes, yeah, I just cannot believe you just said all that. That's like the nicest thing anybody, like, you are amazing. Like, hey, David, I know why she's a good student. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Like, I can't believe this. And so she's like, and then let me tell you all the things that title companies don't do that piss us off. And then if you guys did them, that we will tell other, agents and loan officers to use you. So then I spent 10 minutes writing down things she told me that we needed to do. It was crazy. Called David up. He's like, that's unbelievable. Thank you so much. And then a couple months later, I went to David's company to teach this exact same class. Just so you know, so like that's how this class. He goes, you got to come. And I said, well, what would I talk on? He's like, just everything you did today. You do that. And I'm like, I did it because I'm amazing. Yeah. I'm like, I just, and then, so all of that happened. So then as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, what would I say? Then I went home and saw the books and oh my gosh. That's what I did. I just followed that path. That makes sense. So, but it's the habit of walking through those steps of recognizing when you're in fight or flight mode, recognizing like I am not physiologically capable of having this conversation, not because I'm emotional. My body, I can't do. I need 20 minutes to calm down. Like I need at least 20 minutes to like de-escalate my my response and to get in a place where I can actually have a conversation that's gonna be meaningful. Does that make sense? Lastly, is that when you're having any of these conversations, the last thing that I want to share with you, the last skill set. So skill set number one is to start with heart, is before you have that, always just sit down and write, what do I really want out of this situation, out of this relationship? What's the ultimate outcome? Is it that I get my $1,000 back or whatever? Or is it that, what do I really want? What's actually gonna benefit? What's my ultimate desire in this situation? Right. Number two is to use contrasting statements. And contrasting statements are like, it's kind of like, you know what, on any sport, typically, I guess, every sport, right? You have a boundary that, you know, you step outside the boundary, you're out of bounds, the ball goes the other team or whatever. Contrasting statements allow you to create a boundary about how the person is going to interpret what you're about to say. Okay, so it could be like this. I need to tell you something that is that might challenge our relationship. What I want you to know is that I don't want you to think that my intention of telling you this is to make you feel bad or to get back at you because you hurt my feelings last year when you said this and we haven't resolved that yet. I just want to tell you this because I can see that you're doing something that's making a big mistake in your business. And I don't want you to make that mistake. So I don't want you to think that I'm retaliating. I don't want you to think that my intention is about this. What I want you to really to know is, so you're saying I don't want you to think this about it. Not like you can't think this, but my intention of telling you, when I go to tell you this, you're gonna have a moment where you could possibly think I'm doing it to get back at you. You could possibly think I'm doing it to think that I'm better than you. It's none of those things. Why I'm telling you this is because I really do want you to make this happen in the best way they can possibly be made. Does that make sense? So when you set that boundary, then what that does is it allows the person not to tell themselves a story and go, you're just saying this because last year I said the same thing to you and you got this and now you're just saying it back to me just to get back in the line. What are you talking about? You know, does that make sense? Like, and this is really effective with teenagers. And it's really effective when teenagers use it back. Dad, I don't want you to get mad and lose your temper because I did something that you told me not to do. I'm like, what? I'm not gonna lose my temper, but what is it? You're not telling you. But my kids use this and it's actually pretty, it de-escalates me because then it makes me realize, Dad, I want to tell you something. This isn't that big of a deal. But why I'm talking to you about it right now is because I don't want it to be a big deal. And if I don't talk to you now, then it's going to be a big deal. But I don't want you to think right now that what I'm going to tell you is going to be a big deal. And I need you to give me time to explain it before you jump to the conclusion and get mad about it. Or think that I didn't listen to you what you said. When my kids tell me that, I'm like, lay it on me. Still mad, but go ahead. But I'm content, you know, but when they can give it back to you, it's so good. Does that make sense? I had one of the best moments in my life. Just a rewarding moment in my life is when I had this employee a few years ago who said, hey, I really need to talk to you tomorrow morning. Right? Who has owned a business and had an employee tell you about? What do you know they're going to tell you?
Something terrible.
We're gonna quit.
They're quitting. That's what they're going to tell you. They're quitting. Like, I know the drill. Like, okay, go ahead. You know, and so this employee, like 3 or 4 years ago, said, I really need to talk to you tomorrow morning before the weekend. I'm like, okay, like, I know it's happening. And I was kind of like, anyway, and I just thought, no, I don't know what's happening. And I'm kind of going through this, getting the noise on my head. I'm like, I don't know. And she walked in, and the first thing she said is, I don't want you to think I'm quitting. And I was like, I don't care what you're doing now. you want the rest of the week off? Friday, well, what do you want? Doesn't even matter to me. But obviously, when she said that, I kind of got emotional, like I kind of cried a little bit. But just because I was like, oh my gosh. I was so worried, and she immediately put out, she's like, I didn't, she goes, what I said to you last night in that text, I realized you probably thought that was quitting, because I would probably think the same thing, I don't want to get to that. I'm like, you told me that last night when you said that. I did not sleep, you know. Anyway, but when they use it back on you, very helpful. And when you talk to your clients, and this is something you can even coach your clients on how to have a conversation with them, how you can feed them information, how they can share with you information. Because you can say, hey, I'm really worried about you because the timelines on this transaction are so limited. I'm really worried. I don't want you to think that you can't tell me things. I don't, you know, and I'm really worried that you might hold back, and I don't want you to hold back because I'm not going to be afraid to hear the feedback from you. And what I want you to do is tell me when you have a concern, tell me what's happening right when it's happening. So you don't, you know what I mean? Like you can start creating a boundary with using the contrasting statements that helps them to say, oh, I do want to keep this transaction moving as fast as possible. I do know this transaction has the possibility of having noises or stories in our head that aren't true. And I do want to keep those stories out of our head as best as possible. So I will tell you as soon as I have something going on, so I don't feel better about it. Does that make sense? Like when you teach them this, it really benefits you in the long run, and it makes them feel connected and that you care enough about them to teach them how to communicate, because most people don't know how to do this. Make sense? And again, I can't teach you this and now. What I gave you is just a fraction of what it is. And the book's called Crucial Conversations by Joseph Rennie. There's a couple other authors on there too. And I would take that book. There's a third edition or something, or a fifth edition. I think it's edition 5 or something. But that book, I recently read it last year. I just went through it line by line last year. And the first time I took this class was in 2001. And last year I read the book again, and I read the book again. I was like, oh my gosh, I've forgotten a lot of the stuff. It's so amazing. And so I would encourage you to really dive into this, take a deep dive into it. It's kind of boring and technical, but when you do it and then you practice it, it works. And when you have that connection with your clients, it's that connection that's why they're going to come back to you over and over again, because they'll never remember really how good of a deal you got them or how quick the transaction actually happened. What they will always remember is how you made them feel and how connected you were. That's what they'll remember, even if they don't have your little card on their refrigerator to remind them. They'll remember you because of how you made them feel. So I know time's up, but anybody have any questions, anything? I'm here for the next little bit if you have any questions, or but make sure you sign the roll and you're free to go. But if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them or talk about them. Anybody have anything?
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you, Louie. Every time that Louie speaks, I'm always just like this, like taking a million notes and just like leaning in. Big fan, big fan. We have our lunch sponsor, my Utah Stagers. Hi. I'm gonna give you just a second to tell us about your company. Do you want me to help you pass those around? Wonderful. And then we're okay, everyone got one? Oh, hi everyone. Nice to be here. My name is Jody. I'm with my Utah Stagers. I had a background in escrow, so this is kind of all like a whole new realm, which is a lot of fun. I kind of shifted gears and this
now I get to be the fun side of the real estate industry inside the title, so it's really fun. But I just wanted to quickly introduce us, just give you guys a little introduction. I know everyone's probably hungry. I brought tacos, Taco Tuesday, so. So yeah, I have listed out a bunch of benefits of staging. There's a bunch of different facts. We've seen so many vacant homes lately that have just been sitting on the market. Once we get it staged, it sells quickly. So there's tons of benefits to staging. We not only do vacant listings, but we can do occupied stages. There's tons we offer. Our girls can come in, give your sellers tips on what would help them sell better, whether it be like getting rid of stuff, adding furniture, bringing stuff in, whatever. So we kind of offer a bunch of different options. We have our number on there if you guys want to save our number for anytime you have questions or whatever. I am your main contact, so I'll be the one to answer any questions you guys have, get everything scheduled. Do you guys have any questions? Any staging questions at all? Yes.
Typical price.
Typical price is around 1,900. So that's for kind of the essential. So that will include living room, dining room, kitchen, primary bedroom, and bathroom. And so it's 1,900 with a queen bed, 1,950 for a king. So you're looking at around that price. We can add on offices, patios, extra living rooms, extra bedrooms, extra anything. So we can kind of customize that package to whatever you need. And we also can, if you don't need all of those rooms, we can kind of individualize it, take away things. Our minimum is 1,000 per project. But if you guys just want like kitchen, living room, dining, the main areas of the home, we can do that as well. So there's my little spiel. It's not too much. I just wanted to introduce myself. I guess know you guys. So
What is your name?
Jody.
Thank you, Jody.
Yeah. Hey, you bet. And I have a bunch of marketing stuff for you. I have more of these flyers if you ever need some for your client, cards, koozies, candles. And look. Yeah.
Colombia. Va a estar mejor un poco. Porque no sabemos si Colombia tiene. Por va a ser, pero tiene que ser un poder específico para la propiedad. Hay un poder general que y cualquier cosa que se nos sirve tiene que ser.
Pero really.
Y tiene que ser. Es mejor. Todo.
Does anyone have that sign sheet?
I don't say it, but my. Get rid of her.
How are you?
Actually.
I can see it from my face.